Baskhar is somebody who's running on a sort of negative cash flow month on month. As an actor, a lot of our character comes from what we wear. I grew up seeing my dad being very stylish. I think as a child, I didn't want to dress like a child. I wanted to dress like him. So I wanted to dress like a full-grown man. If you told me when I started my career that I would have a certain love here in Telugu, in this market, and get these opportunities to do these films,
Hi Dulquer.
Hi,
such a pleasure talking to you.
Same.
We are talking a day after the trailer release of Lucky Baskhar.
Yeah.
And it looks like you have something special. You and Venky Atluri have something special that you've put up.
Yeah.
There's a whole lot of attention to world building as such.
Yeah.
We are going to be seeing a story which is set in the late 80s and early 90s, and it's like a middle class man who does fraudulent activities.
Sure.
A bank scam is involved. What was it that drew you into this world?
I think being a common man story. I think the fact that when Venky narrated it to me, it almost felt like a true story. It almost felt like real life incidents. It didn't feel written or created. And the fact that Bhaskar is somebody who's running on a sort of negative cash flow month on month, like no matter what, because his salary is fixed, but it's almost like his monthly expenses and liabilities and obligations are either above that, or he has a lot of unforeseen, unexpected expenses that come up, and sort of sole breadwinner in the family, a big family also. Okay. Ailing father, he's got siblings, a son, a wife. So I feel like this is so much of an India story. I feel like a large percentage of our population is living these lives where you are living off fixed paychecks, but life isn't really fixed, right? You have so many random expenses that come up, and so I think I connected to that so much. And anything he does is for his family, and I think anybody can resonate with that.
As far as a film goes, I don't think we've seen too many of these kind of narratives about a banking scam.
Correct, like a financial backdrop.
Right.
And it's quite well researched.
Yeah.
I'm somebody who has a very strong logic meter.
Okay.
So I keep questioning things a lot.
Okay.
And Venky was so well researched that he had answers to everything I was asking him. Okay. So I felt a little secure about that. It didn't seem like it's very easy to kind of touch the surface of anything and not deep dive. But also it shouldn't sound like you're teaching the audience something or educating them or preachy. Yeah. So it was a nice fine line, but which I feel like he's cracked.
Was Scam 92 or even The Wolf of Wall Street, The Big Short, some kind of reference point at the time of discussing?
I think for Venky, I think his first 3 films were essentially love stories. Okay. And I think that is one criticism he started getting, that he has a certain format. Right. So in other interviews he was mentioning that like during COVID, it was a time where he had so much time on his hands, and he's like, maybe I need to break this up. And I think he came to a conscious decision to not repeat a genre consecutively, so each film I think now he wants to attempt different genres. Okay. So I think Sir was the first big step in that. Vati was a big step in talking about education, the system, and so from that he wanted to, and I think he said I loved all of those finance dramas in the West, like Wolf of Wall Street, or of course even Scam. Yeah. So I think he wanted to create something in that zone, but I don't think it is inspired straight from any of these films. It's very original and authentic in its own way, and it's very rooted in what it is. But I think just that world is fascinating for him.
Okay. You play a character that has shades of grey in it.
Sure.
When you play such a character, how far do you take that in the narrative? It's like, will the audience still root for you, or will they kind of judge you for what you're doing?
This is something that I'm quite curious about when people watch the film. To some level, I feel like they will understand why he's doing what he's doing. Okay. But also, I think he himself has a journey which they'll also connect to. Okay. He has his own realizations about rights and wrongs and things like that.
Okay, so he's not like an outright bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to take anything away from the film, but I feel like it's justified to some extent. And when it's not, I feel like he'll realize it himself.
Okay. See, a part of playing a character that is set in a period setting is about the body language and the dressing up for the part.
Sure.
I was talking to Archana Rao, who has worked with you right from Mahanati.
Oh, lovely. Okay.
Yeah, and she told me that this is not like a dapper Gemini Ganeshan of the 50s or the 60s where you wear really natty clothes.
Yeah.
So she kind of brainstormed with you and like some ill-fitting clothes because it's like you're playing a commoner.
Yeah.
So you have to be
Not perfectly tailored.
Yeah, keeping it very realistic as possible. Tell me about the collaborative process. How
So I love working with Archana because Archana almost does not function like a film stylist. Her tailoring, her attention to detail is very like a sort of name brand or like namesake because she lends her name to her clothes. And I feel like in that sense, there is so much detailing. And even if it's, say, ill-fitted or ill-fitted looking or the materials look, when as an actor, a lot of our character comes from what we wear. A lot of our confidence comes from that. So I have full faith in her, like from a Mahanati to, because I remember the first time I got her clothes for Gemini. These are stuff that the best sort of suit makers in Chennai would do, like the kind of details or like how it fits. There's even on my trousers there'll be little bands that kind of keep it there. And I was like, okay, I've not seen film stylists do that before. So I like that about her. She's very detail oriented. In fact, again on my next Kanta, she's working on that as well. Another Malayalam production that we're doing. So very well researched, always ready for anything that a film might throw at her. It can be very last minute that we need a fix, and she's on top of it. And it has a lovely team as well.
And she told me that you would give a lot of inputs, like for example, people wore such kinds of belts in that decade. These kind of reference points which came about for styling as well.
I think from a young age, I've always been sort of a clothes horse. Like I love clothes.
Okay.
I grew up seeing my dad being very stylish. So I think as a child, I didn't want to dress like a child. I wanted to dress like him. So I wanted to dress like a full-grown man.
Okay.
So I think my eyes always gone into to sort of men's fashion or something, whatever. And then as I grew older, I think there was a period in my life where I would style him as well because I was living abroad and I would bring back things for him. So now it's easier because you have so much reference that you can get. Thanks to like a Pinterest or the internet, you can find great reference points. In fact, for Baskhar, we were looking at actors from the 80s and how they style themselves off screen. Obviously not so flamboyant, but like at least in terms of hair, because I think the common man is always influenced by actors they like and stuff like that. So we did his hairstyling based on that. And clothes, obviously, I think she has a great eye. I could just tweak it here and there.
Do you also keep tabs on fashion trends, or does it also come from old family albums as well?
I don't know. I think if you have an eye for it, you just have an eye for it. I don't know if it's something I consciously do, but I notice things. I notice when someone's dressed well, or like even when I travel or wherever, I'm always window shopping, and it's not something I do because I'm an actor. I enjoy it. Like my wife and I both love to sort of find things, and it's not like I'm obsessed with anything expensive or things like that, but just well made.
It's just incidental that some of the films that you've been working on have all been in period settings.
Yeah.
Right? And even if we remove your films, I've noticed that there have been quite a few films in Telugu also, which have been set in the late 80s, 90s, or even early 2000s. Have you thought about why writers and directors like to create these worlds which are not in the contemporary context?
There's a lot more space for sort of drama, anticipation, missing. Like a Sitaram could not be set today. With phones and whatnot, there's no letters or a letter taken 20 years to reach, the recipient. So I think that is what is the charm.
Scope for drama, definitely.
Yeah.
And is it also a fact that because with shorter attention spans right now, so you have to transport them to a slightly different world than what
I think so. And I think there is a certain fascination. At least I had it as a youngster growing up, and I think there is. Hopefully the same fascination for this current generation or sort of our first time or early 20s, ticket buying public to discover a world that they never saw or discover a world that they never lived in. And we used to enjoy that, I think, in the West. I think up to, especially in Malayalam, up to the 80s and stuff, you could still portray period. But in the 90s when the business changed, I remember they couldn't afford to do big period dramas at that point. Then it again changed. So when I started out as an actor, I thought this is a genre I could never afford because it just, probably never made sense financially. So when something like a Mahanati came my way, I was thrilled. Every day for me was going to like an amusement park. I was so fascinated with the set work, and I used to take pictures of set properties, or like if I have like an old lighter, or if I have like stationery on my table for Gemini. Now I'm doing Kanta. I'm doing the same thing. I don't know why. It just fascinates me because so much has changed, and we've switched from. I feel like so much of design has died now. We're so minimalistic in everything. So I find all of that fascinating, and I hope through these films, not just mine, like you said, the audience gets to sort of discover those worlds, and I think it is very important for films to be immersive. Like you said, it's a short attention span. So anytime an audience member is picking up his phone and going into that means he's bored. That means he's out of the film. So I feel it's very important once you get into a film to hold them in there till the end of the film.
For Lucky Baskhar, I think you've shot a few scenes in Kolaba and Nariman Point.
Yeah.
But barring that, I think a lot of it has been shot on set, isn't it?
Correct, because it's so much. There's a big portion of the film is the bank, the house, the streets and stuff. So it's not viable to shoot in Bombay for those lengths of time. Even to shoot in a Kolaba or Nariman Point, like we can only mostly shoot on Sundays, and you can't go as a full unit and camp there for like 4 weekends or something. It doesn't make sense. So we had to do those weekends, and then the rest we had to do nights. And I've done the same exercise for Kurup, we had a Bombay portion. So the exterior was like this, like a 9-10 day sketch. You did whatever we could, and we cheated the rest in Gujarat and Rajkot and stuff like that. But it's too busy a city to lock down and shoot.
Banglan worked with you in that film
Banglan
as well.
worked with me in Kurup as well, So I think, so that's also like, a lot of things have to come together. It's not like I can just get these technicians on board because they've worked with me in the past. Like these are all very busy. They've all independently very successful. Like Nimish was supposed to start another film, and so he was never even like an option for us. And Venky was going back and forth with it. Again, dates were not falling into place. This is a film we were supposed to start in December, and something else of mine moved. So I had to prepone the film to September, and suddenly we couldn't find technician.
Okay.
But magically, Nimish's dates opened up. Banglan could come on.
Okay.
And I think they both have added so much. So like from day one, when I stepped into set, I felt like the set is a living, breathing thing. Like Bhaskhar's house felt lived in.
Okay.
When all the characters kind of came in costume and look, I could fully believe it. I felt like I believed I was Bhaskar, and this is Sumati is my wife, and my father, and my siblings, and my son, and we were shooting montages, and we were shooting life. And the same thing happened in the bank set. It is so rich in characters, and every actor was cast so beautifully, so organic. Like nobody felt like they were acting, and we all almost, I think, by the end of it, became like bankers. And so by 6 p.m., if it's pack up, everybody leave together. Okay. So you can see the whole people pouring out of the set like any other, like an actual bank closing for the day.
Tell me about the Telugu dubbing process, because right from your first film, you made it a point that it's your voice that we hear, and that adds a lot of authenticity to it. Yeah,
I think it's so now it's almost like people identify me with my voice, and that itself is a blessing. And I think an okay Kanmani when dubbed into Telugu, so Nani dubbed for me, which also helped at that time because it's a voice that was familiar, and they're introducing somebody new. I think that helped. But again, it was so alien to me because I just never come this side, or I never. The few friends I had in college who were from Hyderabad also, they all spoke Hindi amongst each other. Okay. So I didn't even really hear the syntax of the language. But the faith I think that Swapna and Nagi and all had, it wasn't even a discussion. It was just understood that I'm going to dub for the film. And the amount of time that they spent with me, and whether it's Nagi or the sound engineers and everyone, because sometimes when we're speaking, we don't hear our accent. That's something I think now over time I've gotten used to. And now increasingly, I think I'm getting it right. Yeah. There's increasingly less sort of corrections from their side.
I see.
And now I think I'm able to kind of speak a little bit also. I mean, I'm very conscious of it because I don't want to get it wrong or offend anyone.
Yeah, I saw the press interactions as well.
Yeah, a little bit I'm kind of now. Right. But I think with time, because I think it's a beautiful language. It's so expressive. Nothing really sounds cringy or corny when you speak in Telugu, which certain languages do. Like I keep saying, in Malayalam we don't have enough words to express love. We can say like, we can say ishtam. I can't look at a girl in a film in Malayalam and say "Njan ninne premikkunnu," because that sounds very literal, and nobody speaks like that.
Okay.
So we either say ishtam, I like you, or then I think we all switch to English and say, I'm in love with you.
Okay.
But certain languages afford you a lot more. So in that sense, I was always very curious about Telugu as such. But generally, I think I've like in school, I learned 3 languages. I went to an English medium school. My second language is Hindi. Third language is Tamil. I spoke Malayalam at home. So I think I've always liked languages.
Right. Okay. I have to ask you this. How do you look at the appreciation and the acceptance that you got from the Telugu audience as well? Because it's like wholeheartedly they accepted you in Mahanati, and then with Sitaramam, I think you had women writing letters to you as addressing you as Ram,
Yeah.
right? Have you ever thought about?
It's I think equal parts surprising, shocking, something I never expected. If you told me when I started my career that I would have a certain love here in Telugu, in this market, and get these opportunities to do these films, I would have believed maybe Tamil, and really far-fetched, maybe pushing it would have been Hindi, because I was in acting school there,
Right.
and maybe after like Ustad Hotel, I got some inquiries from Hindi.
And you did Karwa as well.
Yeah, but later, I think Karwa and Mahanati around the same time.
Right.
But so I thought those 2 languages might still be a possibility. I just didn't ever imagine that I would have any opportunities in Telugu or acceptance. So it's really truly overwhelming for me. And wherever I travel, because the diaspora is quite big, especially in the West, because of such a big outflow of the IT community or whatever. And wherever I go now, there is a big chunk of love that I get from this audience, and I'm truly grateful for it. And I think in some way, the way they've accepted me is, I feel like it is some family connect that I have. So I think now when I listen to scripts, I feel like those are things I'm conscious of. I was like, I always want to make sure that section of the audience is happy.
Okay. Do you still have some of that fan mail somewhere?
I have, yeah, a lot
Because
of stuff.
a whole bunch of letters you shared on Twitter as well at that
I
point.
did, yeah. And I mean, a lot of it is online,
Right.
so that is safe. But like even the stuff that I got, there is a lot of things that I've held on to, especially anything that people put in a lot of effort, whether it's a drawing or sometimes they go into really detailed craft. They make me boxes and that open up, and there's many things to discover in that, and so much detail. And they would have gone through my entire sort of social media pages. They know my family inside out. They will address my wife Amal or my daughter Mariam, and it's like they know me as well as I know myself.
Okay. Talking about your next few projects, Kanta is a Tamil-Telugu bilingual, if I'm not mistaken?
Kanta is Tamil actually.
It's Tamil, okay.
It's set in period again.
Right.
It's set in the 50s.
Yeah.
I think it's a very special film.
Okay.
It's a film I've had with me for 5 years now. I first heard it in 2019. Around the same time I heard Sitaram, I think. But it's something that we've all been working on. Rana and me are co-producing it. It is a film that I think none of us have sort of attempted. So there's a lot of discovery. It's great. I've been shooting that and loving the process. There's so much for me as an actor and every department to really shine, to really explore themselves.
And you're doing 2 other Telugu films as well. One more with
I have a
Vaijayanti.
couple of, there's one we've
Sadhini.
announced. Yeah, Pawan Sadhini's film, Akash and Ukatara. There's another film that Sudhakar Cherakuri sir is producing. It's a new director. But between that, I have a Malayalam film. I have 2-3 almost other Malayalam films that I've liked. There's one more Tamil film that I'm producing, which we've been setting up for some time. But again, I feel like almost all my films tend to be a little bigger now in terms of effort and number of days.
Yeah.
So I wish I could sign a film, on a Monday and shoot it by Friday and release it on the next Monday. It'd be great. You can do so much more content. But that's the only thing. The only disadvantage at this point is time.
As a parting question, I have to ask you this. I mean, when you choose your projects, do you go by instinctively as to what you'd like to work on at that moment, or are you thinking about, I'm doing two Telugu films right now, so I will be asked when am I doing a Malayalam film next? So does that happen?
I don't think it's... see, there are times when I don't know what I'm doing for the next year, because I might not have heard anything that really excites me or that I really want to put effort into. And then sometimes everything comes together. And then sometimes a film that I've had for a while, just like say Akanta, if I've had it from 2019, it's not me that's pushed it to 2024.
Yeah.
The film itself is in gestation for that long. So a lot of these things are not, and I can try and plan, say I'll do one film in each language and do 4 films a year in one language each and kind of make sure all audiences are happy. But logistically, these aren't in my hands entirely. But I do try to now, so there was, King of Kotha was Malayalam, Baskhar was Tamil, Baskhar was Telugu, Kanta was Tamil. And so I'm trying to alternate it. But then sometimes the film is not ready.
Right.
I know there's a big question from the Malayalam audience, when is your next film? But some of the films that come to me are also in gestation. Like they have an idea and they're like, what do you think? Can we develop this? And then we develop it, and then sometimes it doesn't turn out to be as nice as the seed of the idea. Sometimes it needs more work. But yeah, I'm trying. But I feel like I'm always playing catch up.
Okay.
My career is all about catching up all the time.
But the other way to look at it is also that you have so much more variety to choose from.
I personally love the journey. I enjoy, I love the fact that I was speaking like a 1950s Sendamur in Kanta as of 3 days ago. And then the next day I'm promoting Baskhar and I'm trying to speak in Telugu.
Right.
And for me that is so beautiful in the sense, this is what I love so much about India. There's so much of diversity in languages, cultures, cuisine, attire, festivals. I love all of it. So for me, it's been almost a magical journey, and I have no complaints. But I don't like disappointing people. I don't like disappointing the audience. Okay. So that, as long as I keep delivering good films, I think it's okay. So even if there's a delay, and if it's worth their wait, then it's good.
All the best for Lucky Baskhar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.